Alright, this is another car ride review. I think I'll upload these podcasts as well as an episode of What Woody's Watching. So, welcome back to What Woody's Watching. If you're listening and not watching the video, that's totally fine. But all this is me on the car ride home from a movie, giving you my first thoughts on it. And yeah, if you are watching, I'm working on the framing, trying to figure out how to make it look good when I record myself doing this, because obviously I'm not going to be holding the phone or the camera. So, yeah, it's dark out, so I got the light on here. It's not really a problem. Nah, that looks okay. So, I just came back from I'm coming back from watching Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. This has been a highly anticipated movie for a long time for a lot of people, myself included. The trailers for this have been amazing ever since they started coming out. Obviously, there is the real life loss of Chadwick Boseman and how they deal with that with this movie, I think is pretty good. They didn't recast him. They didn't, just replace him. They killed off the character, and I think they did a good job to respect his memory. They had the character die in the movie. They didn't just write him out as if, he's whatever, not a part of it anymore. Like, he died, and it has a strong effect on everybody that's left in the movie, on Shuri, on his mother, and it's really a present theme in the movie, how Shuri especially deals with the loss of her brother and how their whole kingdom is dealing with the loss of their king. So I think it was really well handled, and I think it's respectful. And of course, it brings a lot of emotion into it. I think that was kind of unavoidable. So I think it's a good thing that they confronted it, basically. And, I don't want to say used it, but they didn't avoid it because they knew people would be talking about it. So that's the way it is sometimes. And I think I don't want to say they made the best of a situation like that, but they were able to adapt and make a good story out of it. And the story itself is fantastic. I think it's great. It's very logical. It's quite a simple story. It's not overly complex or overly complicated. They're not putting all these different moving parts into it. It's nothing that, it's not too convoluted or anything like some other movies recently. Amsterdam felt like there was just too much going on. It's like, what was the end point? There were so many details that just didn't seem important in the end. This was like, there's an enemy, they're going to war, and this is how we fight. So the enemy, Namor, fantastic. I was so excited for this. I love the look of him in the trailer. I know they've changed him from the original, from the comics. He was basically King of Atlantis, and they've changed him, mostly to separate him from Aquaman, because DC was lucky enough to get the jump on that. So their own King of Atlantis had his movie first. So they've changed the details so that Namor is from this place called Talocan, which is based on Tlalocan, which is from Aztec mythology, if I'm not mistaken. They speak Yucatan Maya in the movie, which makes a lot of sense. So, when you see the setting, obviously, I think it helps separate them further from Aquaman, and it helps bring about their this push for more diversity that Marvel's doing, which I think, you could say a lot of their stories have been hit or miss, how they represent certain things, but they are getting more diverse characters in there, and, you got to start from somewhere. So I really appreciate that, and I like that, and to see this Mexican, Mayan, Aztec cultures represented in a movie at this scale, I think is fantastic. The actor, Tenoch Huerta, is fantastic. I'd seen him before, but, nothing like this. And I just thought he was great. And the actress, I don't know her name, but the character, Namora, Queen. Oh my gosh. I love her. She doesn't do a whole lot, but that's my girl. Shuri is great. Of course, we know her from the first movie, and this movie is a lot about her personal struggle and her emotions, trying to deal with everything that's going on with the loss of her brother and with the events of the plot. And I think it's good development for her. There's some really cool stuff. There's some surprise appearances, and I think it's really interesting to see the way her character develops and kind of overcomes her trauma and, I guess, depression from losing her brother. And I'm sure a lot of the cast and crew were really, working on their own emotions, trying to do right by Chadwick Boseman. A lot of people, everybody loved him. They really respected him, and I'm sure they were all really close to him, the people that worked on this movie. I think Ryan Coogler right now, man, he's fighting for the reputation of the MCU. There's still a couple of moments where, the CGI isn't that great, but compared to some of the other stuff Marvel's done, this has been, kind of minimal stuff. There were some things I think they could have done with, practical effects that it seems they chose to go with CGI, and it's not the CGI artist's fault. It's probably the studio didn't give them enough time to, do all the VFX work that they were asking them to do. So there are a couple things that seem a little subpar, but, like I said, in comparison with some of the other stuff Marvel's done recently, it's nothing that major. And I think this movie in general looks fantastic. The sets and the locations, and whether it's a CGI set or a real set, the costume design, of course, is all fantastic. It's beautiful, and it's really represents the different cultures. You can see who is from what culture, and it just shows them in a pretty great way. So let's talk about the plot itself a bit. If you haven't seen it yet, from this point on, I'll get into spoilers. So let me give you a rating. I would say I give this, right now, straight out of the theater, I give it an 8 out of 10. I thought Namor and Talokan is all freaking fantastic. I think its use of languages, the Yucatan Maya language, the Xhosa language, the different Mexican, African languages, I think is absolutely fantastic to have that represented in the movie. And when you go to watch it, the subtitles on the bottom, the blue subtitles are always the Yucatan Maya language, right? So that's what the Talokan people speak, the underwater people, and the white subtitles will be other stuff, French is used a couple times, or Spanish, and then the orange subtitles is for Xhosa, the African language that they speak in Wakanda, which is a real language. It's from South Africa, which is the language of the actor John Kani, who played T'Challa, or T'Chaka, the father who dies in Civil War, that introduces the whole world of all the characters of Wakanda and Black Panther. So they kind of based all their language usage, their accents in English are based on his accent, because that's the way he actually speaks, and their use of the Xhosa language was actually his idea. So I think that's fantastic. And I felt like there was a bit more Xhosa in this movie. It's not a whole lot. It's, small lines here and there, greetings when they say my queen and stuff like that. But it did feel like there was more of it than in the first Black Panther movie. There were just a couple lines, during some key moments where they would speak this language. But pretty much everything between the Talocanians, the people from Talocan, was in the Yucatan Maya language, which I think is great that they did that. And yeah, I think they look great. They looked good. Like I said, their costume design before was great. So yeah, 8 out of 10. Let me get into some spoilers here. The story itself, having Riri Williams be the person who designed this machine that detects vibranium, I think, it's a good way to introduce a new character who's really smart, someone who can create an Iron Man suit, the character of Ironheart. I think, it's pretty logical, and to have it connected with the finding vibranium, have that theme opened at the beginning of the movie, I think worked really well, and to have it introduce both the societies. So Talocan is also based on vibranium. I think that's great. So they're basically like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say Wakanda of the Sea because they're very different, but they have the same kind of source of power, the same thing that's originated their great technology and their great strength. So I thought that was really interesting. And I loved the way they gave Namor his name. Because, leading up, I always pronounced it Namor, and then when you hear him pronounce it, of course, the actor is Mexican, and he's going to pronounce it Namor. And the way they gave him the name, by saying the priest or the religious man said, Eres un hijo sin amor, you're a boy without love, sin amor, and then cutting those together to make Namor, that's good. That's hella good. For them to come up with that from a pre-existing character who's not Mexican in origin, to then give him this kind of Mexican mythology origin, and find a way that it fits in with the actual language of the region, which of course, he gets the name during the Spanish conquistador era. Like, that's genius in my opinion. I freaking love that. I will say some of the action was a bit, it was like classic. I don't want to say, maybe not classic, but it's like what you come to expect of Hollywood. Sometimes it's too close to people and too shaky to really see what's going on. A lot of the action was great, don't get me wrong, but some of the one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat stuff was like really, really up close, and with the cuts going on, it's hard to really follow the motion super easily. But it's not a majority of stuff. I think overall it's still really good. Anytime you see Okoye fighting against the Talocans, like, that's all great. That first scene with them on the bridge, I think, is amazing. I think the warriors, I don't remember his name, Atuma, or Atuma? I think it's Atuma, or something similar. There was Namora and the guy, General, who had, like, it kind of looked like a hammerhead shark headdress. The really big guy, I thought he was great. I'm curious to find out who he is. He looks like a big, strong dude. And, I think it kind of gave me this vibe of, like, he looks like he could be someone who's like a luchador, like a Mexican professional wrestler, which, is hugely popular in Mexico. And they definitely have a different style of professional wrestling in Mexico than we do here, like with WWE. There's Mexican style. There's like a body type that's, the kind of body type that those style of wrestlers have. And I think those characters kind of represent that. So I think it's all fantastic. And I'm sure all or most of the actors who played Talocan people, all the people with speaking roles at least, I'm sure they were Mexican at the very least. Some of them may even have been like people who actually speak Yucatan Maya in their daily life, or at least at some point, I don't know, but it's really, really interesting. And yeah, I just love the representation of the Mesoamerican culture. I'm going through a bit of a phase right now where I'm getting really interested in Native American stuff, especially Latin American stuff. So this is all coming at a time when I'm like finding my own interest in it. So it's really cool to see. But enough about that. I'm kind of fanboying over the enemies here. But yeah, I mean they're like Killmonger, right? They have sympathetic motivations. It also goes back to some colonization stuff, right? And it's all really interesting, and I think you can find that parallel because he complains about the colonization that Europe did in the past, and of course his experience with the Spanish conquistadors, and then Killmonger is there trying to basically get retribution for slavery and African colonization. So they're both sort of products of European imperialism. So they have sympathetic motivations, but then again, they both want to burn the whole world, which is, not really the solution, at least in my opinion. Believe what you want. But it's interesting to see how they come up with this new origin for the character. So it's really cool. And then Wakanda itself, of course, I love the what's it called, the Jabari tribe, right? With the big guy. Damn, how am I forgetting his name? The guy played by Winston Duke. I think he's fantastic. I'm about to get home now, so this review is about to end, but I guarantee I'm going to remember his name right when I stop recording. But, yeah, he's M'Baku. I remembered it. There we go. Yeah, he's fantastic. I love him, his character. He's good. He kind of almost takes on, not very much, but, he takes on that slightly brotherly role, the guy who gives counsel to Shuri now that her brother's gone, and he's like a protector, and he's a great warrior, and he immediately jumps into action when Wakanda gets attacked, and I think it works out really well, and yeah, I really like his character. And the Queen, of course, I think she's great as well. Everyone in this movie, all the actors are great and everything. I don't have any problems. Oh, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she was, getting teased in the some of the TV series, right? And now makes her movie debut, if I'm not mistaken. She hasn't been in any of the other movies yet. So this would be her first theatrical Marvel movie. And she's good, she's funny. I love the actress. She's fantastic. I think she's great. If you haven't seen Veep, the series on HBO, you got to. It's one of the funniest shows ever. But yeah, I've pulled up. I'm home, so I will end it here. I will get a full review out. Probably tomorrow I'll record it and upload that, so you can get my full opinions on it. And on maybe Saturday or Sunday, sometime this weekend, I'll probably go see it again with family members, and I'll try to do like a part 2 podcast with some other people on it, so that way it's not just me talking all the time, because I'd like to get some more second opinions on some things, because I think it really helps expand. I think it makes the podcast better. I think it helps me think of things that I didn't think of in the moment. And I really like, my father likes a lot of the stuff I like. We watch a lot of stuff together, and when we talk about it, I think he brings up a lot of good points that I often forget to talk about when I'm recording these things. So that's it. That's my car ride review. What Woody's watching, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. I give it, again, I say 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. So that's a review, and if you made it this far, thank you for listening. And please keep loving movies. Bye-bye.